And we are back lives. I'm just waiting for the eye to show me that there are some people watching before we're going to get started from where we left off last time on the course on Freecodecamp. Or maybe it's just taking some time to update, seeing if people are joining. If not, I'll just get started by myself and wait for some people to join. I will probably wait for 2 to 3 minutes and see if some people are joining. Well, I see that somebody has joined already. Say hi. And somebody else. Oh, Arman Towel. How are you, man? You doing okay? Thank you for the like. This will make YouTube push the content more so more people can see it. We will get started in about 2 to 3 minutes. I'm just waiting to see if more people are joining because they was showing. Yeah, very cool, man. Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm just on my third live. It's going pretty well. How was your day? Thanks for liking. Thank you for the like. Say hello, guys, if you're there. It would be nice to see who's watching. Well, what can you do with this coronavirus, huh? With this COVID. Hi, Roxana, how are you? Yeah, it is boring. So guys, if you didn't already give a like to the live, I would appreciate if you can give one so that YouTube pushes the content more and we get some more viewers. I will get started with the course in about 2 minutes. Are you saying that your day was boring or that I'm boring? You should start doing lives as well, man. Alright, well, I don't know if some more people are joining, but probably someone will join in the meantime. So, your day. Yeah, man, I can't wait to be able to come back to Romania and visit, and we can meet and go visit something or visit the pub. Alright, so I see 4 people are watching. If somebody else join, if you didn't already give a like to the live, I'd appreciate one, obviously, so YouTube can push the content more. Yeah, you need to make my studio. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, I can't wait in a few months to maximum on a year to be able to buy a flat or a house, and I will make myself a YouTube studio, and you know, for coding and stuff and for recording. That's gonna be pretty nice. Alright, so at the moment, oh, hello Vishal, welcome back, man. How are you? You doing okay? How was your day? Oh, 5 people watching. Very nice. Well, there are 5 people watching and only 4 likes. So I know some of you didn't give a like, so I'm waiting for it. Oh, look who's here, my sister. Hi, Julia. How are you? Thank you for coming and supporting. Give a like to the live so that YouTube pushes it more. Alright, well, we are 5 minutes into the live, so it's 10:35 p.m. in India. Yeah, man, I know I'm like trying to make these lives earlier as well and later as well so more people can join. But you know, like time is like different everywhere, so just doing my best. Anyway, we will get doing laundry. That's very interesting. Yeah, I need to do laundry as well. I haven't been doing it for a few days. Okay, well, I'm going to get started going to the course. I will keep a watch on the comments in case somebody asks any coding questions or like questions about me, so I can respond. I think this software that I'm using for the live, I can't find the like button. It's the same as you like a YouTube video. It should be the same way. You never liked a YouTube video? Anyway, I will get started on the course and I will keep an eye on the questions. So last time we left off starting learning about arrays. Oh, just so I remember, because last time Roxana had to remind me that I didn't change the screen, and I was just showing my face and talking about code, and people were not knowing what I'm talking about. So thank you for reminding me this time as well. It's just the memory of awkwardness that made me remember. Okay. So yeah, last time we ended up on while we were learning about arrays, and we are here where we are learning about the method push on arrays, which says an easy way to append data to the end of an array is via the push function or method, right? Push takes one or more parameters and pushes them onto the end of the array. So they give us some example. If we have an array like this, if we use the name of the array, which is the variable, and then we use the method on it, push, and we give it a parameter, like just a parameter like 4, what this method will do is inside this array it will push at the end this element 4, right? So array 1 is now 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if we have something like array 2, which has these elements inside, and we're saying array 2 push, and we're pushing here, what they're doing, they're pushing an array. Now this array will be pushed as an element inside, so it will be an array within an array. So you can see it says array 2 now equals Stimson J cat, and then on the array that we pushed. And I just wanted to give an example. If we have an array like this, const r1 equals 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then I say console log array 1, and I run this. It's console logging the array, but now they gave an example. If you do array 1 push 5, then this 5 will be added to the end of this array. So now if I run the same program again, you will see that 5 there. But again, they say that also it can take more parameters. So here you can pass the parameters in order, and it will just push all of them at the end of the array. So if you push something like 5, 6, 7, 8, like this, with more parameters, then you will see that all of those elements are added to the end of the array. So you can see how this array now has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all of the things that we pushed. And it's also good to know, I haven't had to use it until now, but it's good to know that this method not only modifies this array but also returns something. So if I say something like const length equals, and I'm saying this, what it will do, it will push these elements into this array, but it will return the length of the new array. So because the length of this is 4 and we're pushing 4 more arrays, the length will be 8, which is the length of the new array, the way the array is after you push the elements. So if I clear this and I say console log length, because we want to see the new length, then that should return 8, right? So it returns 8, which is the length of the new array after you push those variables. So here they ask us to push this array onto the end of my array variable in this code. You have my array, which has 2 arrays inside, and they want us to push another array. And when they say to push it, it doesn't say, okay, just put it there at the end of the array. They want us to use the method push. So what we say is say my array, which is the variable, and then we say push, and inside here we pass this variable, which is this array, right? And then we run it. Alright, so let me just check if anybody asked anything, but I think this software actually shows me if anybody says something. Oh, thanks, it worked. Yes. It looks weird on my phone. I'm just checking the comments. Thank you for the likes, guys. The more likes we get, the more YouTube is gonna push this content and more people can see it. So I'm going to go back to the course for now because there are no questions. And now we're learning about the method pop. Now, different than push, pop actually removes the last element of the array. So instead of pushing an element, we're popping. And pop doesn't take any arguments because pop just removes the element. You don't have to give it something to put inside. It's just remove the first element. So you just say the name of the array and then that pop, and that just removes the last element. So it says pop is used to pop a value of the end of an array. We can store this pop off value by assigning it to a variable. In other words, pop removes the last element from an array and returns that element. So the way length here basically returns the new length of the array. When you're saying pop, if you're saying const last element, and then you're saying array1 pop, that pop, and you call it, right, because you have to call the functions, last element, right? So if I console log this, so basically when you say array1 pop, what it will do, it will remove the last element from the array, right? But also it will return that element. So if you're saying like a variable equals to this and pop, it will take that element that is popping out of the array and put it in this variable. So if I console log now last element, it will be 4 because that's the element that is popping outside of the array, right? So it's 4. And also if I console log last element and then also I console log array1, so I can see what the value of array1 is now, you will see that array1 was removed, right? Well, not array1, the 4 at the end of array1 was removed. So you can see we have 4, which is this one, last element, and then we have 1, 2, 3, which is the way the array is now after we popped the 4. So it's saying any type of entry can be popped off of an array, number, string, even nested array. So it's saying it doesn't matter what type this data is, if we always can remove it with pop. So if you have var 3r 146 and then we say var 1 down and we say 3r pop, then the value of this will be 6. So console log 1 down will be 6, and then 3r will be 1 4, right, because we have removed this value, exactly what I was explaining before. Now they ask us to use the pop function to remove the last item from my array, assigning the popped off value to removed from array. So going to the code, we want to pop off the last value and assign it to this method, that value, to this variable, right? So we're just saying var removed from array equals my array, and then we just use the method pop, and that will just put this element inside remove from my array, and it will remove it from this array, right? And we have to call this method. Always remember to call the functions, because otherwise you won't do nothing, right? So we just run it, and that's it. Okay, so I'm just watching the comments to see if Armand, what language do you speak? Romanian. Yes, Armand is my Romanian friend. He also has a YouTube channel. He posts a lot of videos about traveling, very nice videos. So if you like those kinds of videos, you should subscribe to him. Okay, I'm going to go back to the... Do let me know, guys, if you have any questions about what I'm explaining. At least the people who are not here just to support me, but to actually learn something. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the course, and then we are learning about the... We might actually have to do this live a bit shorter than the 2.5 hours that we did last time, because we are learning a lot of methods. So if you're new to it, to JavaScript, it might feel overwhelming to try and remember all this stuff. So maybe I'll end it at an hour or an hour and a half, so that we don't have try to learn too much in one go. Okay, so now we're learning about shift, and shift basically is the same as pop. It is, you use pop to remove an element from the end of the array, and you use shift to basically remove one from the start of the array. So it's saying pop always remove the last element of an array. What if you want to remove the first element? That's where shift comes from. It works just like pop, except it removes the first element instead of last. So if you remember here, we said last element equals array1 pop, and then last element was stored in here and then removed. If we use shift, it will remove the first element and it will store it in whatever variable you say. So if I say here something like const first element equals array1 shift, what this will do, let me just change here as well, it will store the first element in the array here and will remove it at the same time, right? So this one is just removes it and it returns it at the same time, right? So now first element would be 1, and the value of this array would be 2, 3, and 4. So if I run this, you can see that the value of first element is 1, and we store it in first element, and then the array now at the moment is 2, 3, and 4, right? So they give example here, var our array is this, and then var removed from our array is our array shift. So basically it shifts, it removes this one and it stores it in here. So now they say use the shift function to remove the first item from my array, assigning the shifted of value to remove from array. So what we want to do is just say here remove from array equals my array dot shift, right? So my array dot shift, and call it, and this will just remove this first element, this array, from this array. It will remove it and store it inside this variable, right? So let's run it, and they're telling us that we are legendary, which we are. So let's just go to the next challenge. Okay, don't ask me now because I can't do anything now. So I'm just going to have a bit of coffee. Yeah, that's good. But I'm going through all this. I'm going through all this course because some people may not have experience in JavaScript. So it's good to start from beginning to end. Now I don't know, this course is called Algorithm and Data Structures, but they're basically teaching you JavaScript from the beginning. So we're gonna go through all of it. The thing is, I am. Let me just change the camera. I do have in plan for this channel more kinds of lives. I'm actually planning at some point after I go through this course live with people. I'm planning to go through other courses, maybe through some books like Eloquent JavaScript. Eloquent JavaScript is a great JavaScript book, so I think it would be nice to go and study it live. I'm also planning to do some React projects and HTML and CSS and stuff like that live, so people can see the process of actually building a project. I'm also planning coding challenges and stuff like that, but they are going to come at some point. So how long have you been working with JavaScript, Vishal? I'm going to continue the course and read your response after. So the way we have pop to remove, we have shift pop to remove from the end of the array, and then we have oh, let me just change the camera back, I almost forgot about it. So the way we have pop to remove from the end of the array, and then shift to remove from the start of the array. Then the same way we have push to push elements at the end of the array, we have unshift to basically push elements from the start of the array, right? So not only can you shift elements of the beginning of the array, you can also unshift elements. So unshift, it means to actually push them from the beginning inside the array. So you add elements at the front of the array. Unshift works exactly like push, but instead of adding the element at the end of the array, unshift adds the elements at the beginning of the array. So if you have an array like this, if you shift it, it removes the first one, and then you unshift happy, which unshift means you push it at the beginning. So now you have happy, J, and cut, right? So they say they want us to add this array to the beginning of the myArray variable using unshift. So I'm going to copy this array, go to the code, and basically here they shift this one, and now they want us to put the other one at the beginning. So we use myArray unshift, and we put that array instead of the array that we removed, right? So let's run it and go further. Just checking to see, just 1 year. Yeah, I actually started learning JavaScript and web development in general, I think in August last year. I studied for a bit, and then I got an internship working in React, an internship for a London company, and I've been working this past year. I've been working on quite a few projects, which gave me quite a lot of experience working with JavaScript and React. I have experience about new syntax like spread, rest, class, arrow function, destruction of object and array. Yeah, those are pretty cool. You can do a lot with them, and I'm pretty sure they are talking about them in this course as well. Do let me know if you have any ideas about what would you like to see in some of the next lives, and if you didn't already give a like to the live, it would be cool to have one, so more people can, basically YouTube will push the live to more people if there are more likes on it. Yeah, I'm actually studying on my own through a course called Algo Expert, which is basically for coding interviews. But this is like a video course. This is like a video course from some guy that worked at Facebook and Google as well, I think, and it costs like something like £150 or something. But I think they're talking a little bit about data structure and algorithm in this course as well. Otherwise, why would they call it that, right? So anyway, going back to the course at hand, I think now they're giving us an exercise. I'm just trying to make this windows smaller, so let me just change back this. I keep reminding myself to change the camera. So here I think we have an exercise. So it says create a shopping list in the variable myList. The list should be a multi-dimensional array containing several sub-arrays. The first element in each sub-array should contain a string with the name of the item. The second element should be a number representing the quantity. So for example, chocolate bar 15, so we want 15 chocolate bars. There should be at least 5 sub-arrays in the list. So we need to create an array that's called myList, and we have to have in this array sub-arrays, each of them with 2 elements. The first element will be what we want to buy, and the second element is how many of that object or whatever we want to buy, right? So so I see they already created it. We just have to push to put the sub-arrays. So we can just say, we can put as a string what we want to buy, and we're going to be very cheeky, and we will say that we want car, and we want 10 cars, right? And then we will say house, and we will say 5, right? Just because we have so much money. And then we will say chocolate, and we will say just 1 because we're trying to keep fit, right? And then we will say salad, and we will say 1000, right? And then we will say, let's say whatever, coffee, and let's just say 1 million, just because we love coffee so much, right? So let's run it, and that's it, right? So this is how we create. This is basically a multi-dimensional array. Okay. And like I said, I love coffee, so I'm having some. I'm going to go back to the course at the moment. I see no questions, so I will answer questions if you guys have any. Do let me know if anything is not clear. Okay, now it says write reusable JavaScript with functions. So in JavaScript, we can divide up our code into reusable parts called functions. Here's an example of a function. Function name. So basically here you give a name to the function, then you have these parentheses, and then you have this, right? And then inside here, inside the body of the function, you write whatever you want the function to do. You can call or invoke this function by using its name followed by parentheses. So you use this name, and then you use the parentheses, and that calls it and executes the code inside the function, right? So you call it like this, function name, and that will call it and will run whatever is inside this block. Each time the function is called, it will print out the message hello world. So every time we write this function name and we call the function, it will execute this code. And because this code says log in the console hello world, every time when we actually do this, it will do whatever it is here. So it will say hello world in the console. All of the code between the curly braces will be executed every time this function is called. So let me just copy this function and show you. If I copy this function and then I call it like this, function name, right? If I don't call it, this will be just a function and nothing will happen, because while the function it is declared, it is never called. So this function is just waiting to be called. This code will never be executed if the function is not executed. So if I execute the program now, nothing will happen while the program will be aware of the function, because it is not called. It will it will not execute its code. So if I do, oh wait, what's going on? I think I didn't save. That's funny. So nothing is happening because I'm not calling the function, right? If I call the function once, it will execute it once, and you will see the console log of hello world once. If I call it twice, let's put it 3 times. So now I basically called it 3 times, so it should say hello world 3 times, right? So you can see hello world, hello world, hello world, right? So it basically executes this code as many times as the function is called. So they ask us create a function called reusable function. So reusable function which prints hi world to the developer console. Call the function, right? So we have to say function. That's one way to declare a function. There will be other way that you can learn later on, but this is one way. So you have function, and then you have the name of the function which we want to have a reusable function, and then you have this, right? And then you put the block inside this kind of parentheses, right? So they want us to say console to log to the console hi world. So console log, and we put in a string hi world, right? And then we always have to remember, if we want to actually use this function, to call it, right? Reusable function, and you have to use these parentheses to call it, right? So let's run, and they say we are a shooting star because we know functions, right? Hey Julian, I'm so glad to see you here, man. Finally I see you here. How are you? How was your day? Basically you're not working on Saturdays, right? I'm going to take a bit of a break to chat to my friend Julian here. He always appreciates all my posts. He's very supportive man. How are you doing, Julian? Are you still there? Oh, Julian, if you didn't like the live, I would appreciate a like so that more people can see the live, because YouTube pushes the content more if more people appreciate it. Also, guys, if you do know anyone that's learning JavaScript and would basically benefit from this kind of content, it would be really nice to share it with them, because I'm trying to build a community where more people study together and we can basically ask questions of each other and stuff like that, because I'm still learning as well. So it will be good to even get knowledgeable people in here. Like Vishal, you said as well that you know quite a lot, so I may like miss something at some point and may have to ask questions. So it's good to know, to have some people that are learning as well, some people that know something, and so on. Yeah, Julian, it's nice to be able to finally have you on the live, because you're not working today. So I'm going to change back the live and going back to coding until I see more comments. Okay, so now functions can have arguments. So basically you can pass an argument to a function, so that function can actually use that argument to do something with it, and we will see what they're saying here about that. So parameters are variables that act as placeholder for the values that are to be input to a function when it is called. So I'm going to give before we're going further here, I'm going to give a simple explanation here. So when you define the function, if you give some parameters here, which you're saying something like one parameter could be name1, and you can give any name you want, but you want to give it a name that's descriptive to what the function does and how it uses those parameters, right? So if you have name1 and name2, which is not very descriptive, but we will go with that for the purpose of explanation, then if I saying here something like my name is space, and then we're saying plus name1, right? So we're using this parameter that is passed to the function, and then we're saying plus and we're putting the spaces, so we have the spaces, and then we say plus, no wait, we will say and your name is, and space, close this string, and then we add name2, right, which is the second parameter, right? So name2, that should be fine, right? Yeah. So if I clear this, and now it depends what you pass, like this is going to be one parameter and this is one parameter. So if I say function name and I call it, and I give as parameter 1, which is name1, I give Marian, and then as the second parameter I give Julian, right, and I call it, what do you think the function will console log? It will console log my name is Marian and your name is Julian, because it uses basically whatever you pass to it. So if I clear and do this, you're saying my name is Marian, whatever we gave it, and your name is Julian. If I say here my name is, and I'm using this instead, like the another name that I have, right, and I save it, then it will use that one instead. So whatever you pass, that's what it uses in the function for those values, right? So now it's saying my name is Silvio and your name is Julian. So they're saying here is a function with two parameters, param1 and param2. So then you have function test1, param1, param2, and then you have console log param1, param2, which is a little bit what we explained here, except we put it into a string, right? Then when we call test1 of hello and world, we have passed two arguments, hello and world, inside the function. So when it's saying console log, it will use hello and world. So you say console log hello world, right? So inside the function, param1 will equal hello and param2 will equal world. Note that you could call test1 again with different arguments, so you can call it with whatever arguments you want. So if I say here something like function name Silvio and Julian, and then I call it again but with different parameters, basically what the function does changes depending on what you pass to it, right? So now I called it twice but with different parameters, so we get two different things. One is my name is Silvio and your name is Julian, because we use Silvio and Julian, and then you get my name is Marian and your name is Julia, because we use different things as parameters, right? So it's saying create a function called function with args that accepts two arguments and outputs their sum. So we have to output the sum to the developer console. Call the function with two numbers as arguments, right? So I'm going to copy the name of this function, and I'm going to say function, and then I put the name of the function. I give two parameters, number1 and number2, because I'm trying to make them descriptive, right? And then I'm saying, and what they're saying to console log, right? That accept, yeah. So basically we have to put in the console log their sum, right? So we're going to say console log, and we want their sum. So we're going to say number1 plus number2, right? So then we run it. Oh, right, and we forgot, you see, this is what I'm saying, you also have to remember to call the function, right? So we just use function with args and we call it, right? And we have to call it with two numbers, because that's how it's gonna add the two numbers. If you give it to numbers, otherwise it will think this is undefined, and they will explain this at some point, but I will pass it to numbers because that's what it needs, and run it, and then that's what we need, right? Okay, I'm just checking the comments to see if anybody said anything else, but they didn't, so I'm going to continue with the code. If you guys have any questions, do let me know. Yeah, so let me go back to the code. Now they're talking here about global scope and functions. In JavaScript, scope, and this is an important concept to understand, refers to the visibility of variables. Variables which are defined outside of a function block have global scope. This means they can be seen everywhere in our JavaScript code. Variables which are used without the var keyword are automatically created in global scope. So I think what they are saying here is if we're creating a function, we're creating a variable here within function name, and we're saying something like number 1 equals 2. So we give the value of 2 to number 1, but we're not using the var keyword. Then basically this will put it outside the function, and it will be able to be accessed outside of the function, because this variable will actually be declared in the global scope. So if I say here actually console log number 1, you will see that even though this function is never called, and I'm never consoling log within this function number 1, and I console log number 1 outside, this, from what they're saying and from what I know as well, this should console log this value, because this, when it's declared here, is actually moved outside of the function somewhere at the top of our program, right? So if I run this and run it, or did I not understand, or number 1 is not defined? I guess I'm not understanding this right myself. Are automatically created in, what if I call the, oh, it's probably because I never called this function. Let me try to call it function name, and let's see what happens now. Yeah, so you do have to kind of call the function for this to be declared, but when the function is called, this is actually put outside the function, because as you can see in the function, we never console log the number, we just assign it. So we never console log it, we just console log it here. So this number 1 can be accessed outside the function after we call it, because when the function runs, it just basically gives the value of 2 to number 1, and number 1 becomes a global variable at this point after we have called the function. Now if we actually use the var to declare this, then what would happen, this would get a scope, and the scope it would get, it will be the scope of this function. So then this variable would be only able to be accessed inside here, so we could only console log number 1 in here, and it would console log it. But now if I'm actually trying to console log number 1 after I gave it the var keyword, right, then we would get an error, because it will say number 1 is not defined, because now when you're using the var keyword, then it will get the scope of this function, it will not move into the global scope, right? And I will just look at to see if there's any questions, because this may be a bit of a confusing subject. So I will wait for like 1 minute, and if there's anybody that's not understanding this concept, you can ask me to kind of explain it better, but I hope that was pretty clear. Alright, so I guess not. So I'll continue. Let's see. They're saying variables which are used without the var keywords, like we said, are automatically created in global scope. This can create unintended consequence elsewhere in our code or when running a function again. So basically, we kind of want to use the var keyword and we want to have a scope, like the scope of a function. We don't want our variables to basically leak outside of our function. We want them to be, basically, if we declare a variable inside the function, we want it to stay in there. We don't want it to leak it outside in our program, because that way we can keep track of values throughout our program, right? So he's saying this can create unintended consequence elsewhere in our code or when running a function again. You should always declare your variables with var. Now he's saying you should always declare your variables with var, but I will beg to differ, and yeah, it is good, it is better to use var. But I think now in modern JavaScript we are using let. So basically the let way of declaring variables, we are using let when we want to declare a variable that will be changed at some point, and then we use const when it's a variable that should never be changed, right? That never changes its value. Because var has again some problems with scope that are a bit tricky, so it is much better to use let and const. Using var declare, and they're saying here, using var declare a global variable named myGlobal outside of any function, initialize it with a value of 10. Inside function fun1, assign 5 to the oops global without using the var keyword, because we have already declared that variable, so they just wanted to change its value from 10 to 5, right? So it's saying myGlobal. So we're saying here var myGlobal equals 10, right? Now inside this function we want to change myGlobal to 5, right? And as you can see, this is declared outside of this function, and because it's declared outside of this function, it can be accessed inside the function, because basically the way scope works, it basically works on level. So if this variable myGlobal is not actually defined in this function, then what JavaScript does is basically goes from level to level, going to the top. So if it's not declared here, then it's going outside this function and is looking for it there, and if it finds it there, then it means that's the value we're looking for. So basically this outside of the function can't access variables inside the function, but this function can access variables that are at a level up, so basically outside of the function, right? They cannot access this function can't access variables that are inside another function that's not in this function. So if we have another function here, so we have this function and then another function, this function will not be able to access variables from this function, but it would be able to access variables that are outside of both functions. So I'm just going to check if anybody's asking something about, no, remind me later. So now they want us to change myGlobal to 5 here, right? So myGlobal equals 5. So we will basically assign it 5. Okay, so I think that should be it. I don't think they're saying anything else. Yeah. So let's run it. myGlobal should have a value attention. Oh, wait. All right. So what there's I understood wrong what they actually want. They want us in here to make another variable that's called oops global, and do not use the var keyword, which means this is the wrong way of doing it, because this will actually move the scope of this variable outside, so somewhere here, which is not good when you're basically creating variables inside the function. So so let's run it, and then we go further. Okay, I'm just gonna have a drink. How are you guys? Is anybody still watching? I'm seeing three people, three eyes are looking at me like that from there, but I don't I don't know if anybody's actually watching or just having this in the background. It's be good to know if anybody's still there. Julian, you still around? Oh, and if you're new to the live, if you weren't here before and you're watching now and you do enjoy it, I'd appreciate if you could give a like so that YouTube pushes this content to more people, so that more people can watch it and get help if they need. Alright, so I'm going to go back to there is not much interaction here. Okay, so going further, I think maybe I will stop this live at 1 hour or 1 hour and a half. Like I was saying, there is a lot of concepts here, so we're trying not to get too ahead of ourselves in just one live. Or you guys can let me know if you actually want to go further than that and you want to do more today. Okay, so local scope and functions. Variables which are declared within a function as well as the function parameters have local scope. That means that they are only visible within that function. Here is a function myTest with a local variable called loc. So we have function myTest and we have var loc equals to a string which says foo, and then we have console log loc, which is this, and then we're running myTest, and then we're trying to console log outside of the function loc. So what's happening here, this function is called and it's actually console logging the value of loc inside this function. So inside this function we have access to loc, so it will log to the console foo, which is the value of loc. So when we're running this function, this is going to happen and it will log to the console foo. But then we're trying again to console log outside of the function the value of loc. This will actually not be defined and it will give you an error that loc is not defined because we are not having access outside of this function to the value of loc because it is not in the global scope, it is in the scope of the function, right? So the editor has two console logs to help you see what's happening. Check the console as you code to see how it changes. Declare a local variable myVar inside my local scope and run the tests. So it's saying to create a variable inside this function that's called myVar because it's used here and give it a value, right? So we're saying var myVar equals 10 maybe, right? And we run it. Now here what's gonna happen, it will basically console log it when we run the function, but here this would be an error because it's not defined here, right? So we run and then we go further. Roxana still here and Julian still here, good to know. So sorry, I didn't really know if it was an answer to the questions, if you'd prefer to go like half an hour more or do more next time, or how do you guys feel about it? Okay, so then we're saying global versus local scope in functions. It is possible to have both local and global variables with the same name. When you do this, the local variable takes precedent over the global variable. So in this example, we have this. We have in the global scope, we have a variable called SumVar, which has the value of hot, and then we have a function which has a block that will be run when the function is called, and in here we're basically declaring another variable with the same name that's called head, and then we're returning it. So when it's saying it's returning, it's basically returning this value. So if you console log my fun and you run it, so console log my fun run is basically going to console log whatever it returns, because when you return something outside of the function, when this function is run, it returns the value that you return, right? So I will not go in explaining that because it will be explained at some point, but the thing is, what it will return here when it returns something, it will return head, because even though some var has the value of hat here, it will basically use the value that is it's in most inner scope, which is the scope of this function, right? Now obviously I will say that I don't think you should ever use the same name, you should use different names, but it's good to know that basically the most inner scope, which is the first scope, that is the one that will be used, right? So the function myFun will return head because the local version of the variable is present, so it exists here. If this didn't exist, then it will use the one outside. So like I said before, it's basically going from level to level up until it finds it, right? Once it finds it, then it uses that one. So because it's found it here, it won't go up levels because it already found it, right? So now we're saying add a local variable to my outfit function to override the value outerwear with sweater. So we have here var outerwear equals t-shirt, and then we want to declare the same one here to basically override it. Var outer, well, we're not actually override this one, we're just using this name for another value in here. So they want us to put sweater, so we do a string that says sweater, and then we run it, right? One for the Guinness book. It's a record, it's a record. Okay, so then it says return a value from a function with return. So like we were saying before, return basically returns something outside of the function. So I will give a small explanation before we go through this one. If I have here a function and I'm saying num1 and num2, and I call this function sum, right? And I'm saying return. So basically what I'm returning is actually num1 plus num2, which is the sum, right? And then we're saying const, we create another variable. Let me use var so that we don't get confused with const and let before we're getting to that here. Let's say var sum of numbers equal, and then we're saying sum, because we're basically calling this function with two arguments, 2 and 4. So when we're calling this, it's returning something, and what's returning is basically their sum. So now if I console log sum of numbers, right, and run it, you can see that we get 5, because here we're returning num1 plus num2. We're calling it with the parameters 2 and 3, so those are the ones that are used. So it's returning top plus 3, which is 5. So whatever it's returning is going to be what we get when we call this function back, right? So it's giving us an example. Function plus 3 of num returns num plus 3. So basically what this function does is called plus 3, so it means it adds 3 to whatever number you pass as an argument. So it's returning the number that you pass plus 3. So then they're saying var answer equal plus 3 of 5. So the argument is 5, so it's adding 3 to 5 and is returning the result, right, which is 8. So it's saying plus 3 takes an argument for num and returns a value equal to num plus 3. Right? Create a function times 5 that accepts one argument, multiplies it by 5, and then returns the new value. See the last line in the editor for an example of how you can test your times 5 function. So let's go here. and we are going to, what's the name that they said, times 5, right? So I'm going to copy this, and we remember how we created a function. We're just saying function times 5. It takes an argument, num, right? And what it returns, right? It returns something. It returns basically the number multiplied by 5. So return num multiplied by 5. And then what they say to call it, and returns new one. Do they say to call it? I don't know. Let me check if this passes. Yeah, so they just wanted us to basically declare the function. And let me close this so I can show again. So basically we're just returning the number that we pass 5. And the way you would call this would be something like times 5 of 10. And this will return basically, if you're saying const, I'll say var again, var result equal times 5 of 10, then result will have the value of 10 multiplied by 5, which is 50, right? So let's run this again and go further. And I'm going to just check the, okay, no more comments. So I'm not sure if people want me to do longer live today, or we only went for an hour at the moment, but I would appreciate some comments if people are still watching, if they want to watch more today or do more next time. So I'll just go to the next one. Okay, so understanding undefined value returned from a function. A function can include the return statement, but it does not have to, because sometimes a function, what it does, it only basically does some actions, but it doesn't return anything from the function. It only like modifies some stuff, or is console something, it logs something to the console or stuff like that, right? So in that case, that if the function does not have a return statement, then when you call the function, it will basically do whatever you say in the code, and then it will return undefined. So if I say something like this, function sum num1 num2, and then I say in console log sum1 plus sum2, and then I'm having var sum of number here equals sum2 of 3, and then I'm console logging this sum2 of 3, you will see that this will actually be undefined, because this function actually does not return something. Here, instead of saying console log sum1 plus sum2, which might get you confused, I'm just going to console log the function was run, right? I'm not sure if that's the correct spelling. Was run, I think it's just run here. Yeah, so if I clear this, you can see that we get two things. We get whatever we console log in the function, because the function it is run here, right? So we get that console log. But then here we get undefined, because we're trying to give to sum of numbers the return from this function, and this function actually does not return anything. It just does some action. It does not return something. Now if I say here return hello, then it will return hello, and this will become hello, right? But the point of this is, if the function is not returning anything, then if you try to basically assign the value of the return to a variable, it will just be undefined, right? So add sum is a function without a return statement. The function will change the global sum variable, but the return value of the function, it is undefined. Create a function add 5 without any arguments. This function adds 5 to the sum variable, but its return value is undefined. So we have to create one add 5, which adds 5 to the sum variable, right? But the return value is undefined. So as you can see, this one, you have the sum, the sum starts with 0, right, as 0, and then this function basically, which is called here, it basically adds 3 to the sum, but it's not returning anything, so the return of this would be undefined, but it actually does change something in the code of our program. So now we have to create another one, right, function add 5, which basically adds 5 to the sum, not 3, right? So we say sum equals sum plus 3 plus 5, right? And again, this does not return anything, but it does change something in the code outside of the function, right? So let's run it, and that's it. So now they say assignment with a return value. If you recall from our discussion of storing values with the assignment operator, everything to the right of the equal sign is resolved before the value is assigned. So whatever is on this side when we have an assignment is resolved before the assignment happens. So like we saw before, this is resolved first and then it is put in here. So if this returns something, returns 4, return 4, right? If this returns 4, when this is called, when this variable gets the as assignment this function, the function is first run and evaluated. So at the end of the function it will return 4. So basically this here becomes 4, which is the return of the function, and only after that is put in here, right? So assume we have a predefined function sum which adds two numbers together, then our sum equals sum of 5 and 12. We'll call the sum function, which returns a value of 17 and assigns it to our sum variable like we saw before. Here is saying call the process arg function with an argument of 7 and assign its return value to the variable processed, right? So we have var processed, so we say here processed, which is declared here, equals, and we have to call this function with the value of 7, right, with an argument of 7. So we're saying process arg of 7. So what this will do, it will put in processed basically 7 plus 3, 10 divided by 5, which is 2, right? So let's run it, and we are at 49%. Let me check if anybody said something. Go 30 minutes more. Okay, I will be back in 1 minute. I need to use the toilet. Okay guys, I'm just checking if anybody is new to the live and you are enjoying this. I would appreciate if you can give a like to the live so that more people can see it, because YouTube will push it more. And also if you are not subscribed to the channel, give a subscribe and maybe click the notification but if you want to see more content like this and you want to join some of the next lives, alright, let's get back to it. So okay, so in computer science, a queue is an abstract data structure where items are kept in order. New items can be added at the back of the queue, and old items are taken off from the front of the queue. So basically, you add new items to the end, and you take old items from the front of the list. So it's saying write a function nesting line which takes an array as an argument, an array, and the number item as arguments. Add the number to the end of the array, then remove the first element of the array. The nesting line function should then return the element that was removed. So we have basically, first, let's go through step by step. First, we need to create a function nesting line which takes an array and an item as arguments. So we'll just say, the way we remember, well, they already did a little bit for us. So this function takes as arguments an array and an item, right? So now what we want to do is, because here they're returning item, we can actually change this, because it's saying we can change stuff inside here, so we can put whatever we want inside here. So sorry about that. It's saying this this argument that we pass, we want to add it to the end of the array that we are receiving, right, as an argument. So how do we push an element at the end of the array? We remember with the method push, right? So we were saying array, which is this argument, push, and we push inside it the item, right? Then they're saying remove the first element of the array, because we remember what they said about the queue. You push elements at the bottom and well, at the end, and then you take the ones from the beginning of the array. So now we want to remove one, and we remember to remove we use the method shift to remove from the start of the array, right? So we're saying array shift, but they're saying that they want us to basically return that element that we're removing. So what I'll do, I will change this item that I pushed here, I will change it to the item that I am removing. And we remember when we use shift that the shift method removes the element and it puts it in whatever variable you assign this operation for. So now I'm saying item equals array shift, so that removes the first element and it puts it in item, and then we're returning it, right? And do let me know if this makes sense to you. So let's run it, and then that's it, right? I'm just gonna check if anybody is asking any questions. Alright, let's go further. So now they're saying understanding Boolean values. Another data type is the Boolean. Booleans may only be one of the values, true or false. Sorry about that. They are basically little on-off switches where true is on and false is off. The two states are mutually exclusive. Now they're saying Boolean values are never written with quotes, because quotes basically say strings. Now JavaScript files will actually recognize these words like true. It will recognize it's a Boolean value, right? So the way you use numbers like this and you use string like this, Boolean values, you can just write it as a word and it will know it's not supposed to be a variable, it's supposed to be a Boolean data type, right? True and false, right? JavaScript just knows that those are data types, right? So Boolean values are never written with quotes. The strings true and false are not Boolean. So if you write them as string, they will not be Boolean, they will just be strings and have no special meanings in JavaScript. So now you're saying modify the welcome to Boolean function so that it returns true instead of false when the run button is clicked. So at the moment this function is returns false. We want it to return true, right? Okay. Code long and prosper. I plan to. Okay. Now we are going to start learning about conditional lodging with if statements. So if statements are used to make decisions in the code. The keyword if tells JavaScript to execute the code in the curly braces under a certain condition defined in the parentheses, right? And we will see what that means. When the condition evaluates to true, the program executes the statement inside the curly braces. When the Boolean condition evaluates to false, the statement inside the curly braces will not execute. So it's something like this: if, and then we have this parenthesis. If this condition inside here is true, then it's running this block of code that will be inside these curly braces. If the condition is not true, so whatever is in here not evaluate to true but to false, then this is never executed. So let me give an example. If we have something like if 1 equals 1, which 1 equals 1, obviously 1 equals 1, so this expression evaluates to true. So we're saying if that is true, console log yes it is, right? So let me clear this, and we're getting yes it is. Now if I put here if 1 equals 2, 1 is not equal to, so this will evaluate to false, so this will never happen, right? This will never be console log because this is false. So if this is false, this will not be run. So nothing happens because this is not true, right? It's the same if I put here if true. So if I put there if true, then true evaluates to true, so that will be run, right? If I put false, then it will not be run, right? Nothing happens. Okay, it will never go inside here if this is false, right? So example, function test my condition. If my condition return it was true, so this function returns it was true if this my condition is true. So if this condition evaluates to true, then the function returns it was true. Otherwise, and the thing is, once you use the return inside the function, it will return immediately with that value and will quit the function immediately, so none of the following code will happen. So once you use the return, it basically quits the function and it returns that value, right? So if this condition is actually true, it will return it was true and it will just quit the function without caring about this. But if this is not true, then this will never be executed, right? And it will return it was false because it gets to here and it returns it. If this is true, it will never get to here, right? So if you actually pass true, it returns it was true. If you pass false, it returns it was false. So when test is called with the value of true, the if statement evaluates my condition to see if it's true or not. Since it's true, the function returns, so because this is true, it returns it was true. If this is false, this doesn't happen, and we go here and we say it was false, right? Here it says create an if statement inside the function to return yes that was true if the parameter was that true is true, and return no that was false otherwise. So this is basically the same thing that they did, only with different words. So we are just saying if was that true, then we're returning, do they say returning or console log? Yeah, it say returning, so we're saying return this, right? Now if this is not true, then we're just saying return, and let me copy this. No, that was false. Okay, let me just write it. No, that was false, right? So let's run it. Kool-Aid Man says, oh yeah. Okay, let me just check if anybody said anything. No, nothing. So I'll just go further. We are going for 10 minutes more, and that's it for today's live. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next one after we finish this one. Do let me know if you do have my contact and you know how to reach me. Do let me know if you have any idea about how I can make the live better, if anything was not going well, and so on. All right, and also, like, really please, if you do know somebody that would be helped by in-depth explanation in JavaScript and they're just learning JavaScript, I think this is a good resource where they can basically get explanation for JavaScript stuff. And basically this is just for free, so they can just get some mentoring for free. All right, so I'll just go for the next 10 minutes and then we will call it a day. Okay, so here, comparison with the equality operator, which we actually show there. There are many comparison operators in JavaScript. All of these operators return a boolean true or false value. So we have basically comparison operator, which we can say something if 2 is less than 3, right? And this is a comparison operator, and this returns either true or false, right? So this will return true at the moment because 2 is less than 3, but if I say 5 is less than 3, then it will return false because it evaluates to false. This is a false statement, so this will evaluate to false, right? So the most basic operator is the equality operator, equal, so it's something like that. And this can be used like this, but I would suggest, until you get a really good handle of JavaScript, never use this one, use this one instead, right? 3 equals. And I won't explain here why, but I think it's good to get used to use this one until you understand like really good JavaScript, because there are some effects that you might you may not know why something is happening if you use just 2 equals. So use 3 equals, right? So the most basic operator is the equality operator. The equality operator compares 2 values and returns true if they're equivalent or false if they are not. So basically this one will return false here because these 2 things are not equal, and it will return true in this case because 3 equals 3, right? So note that equality is different from assignment. So something that we were explaining back in the first live, I think, from this series, we use equal in JavaScript to basically assign a value to a variable, and we use the 3 equals operator to basically compare 2 values, right? So equals actually assigns the value on the right of the operator to the variable on the left, right? So now here we have a function equality test of my val. So then it's saying this condition, if my val equals 10, return equal. Otherwise, if this doesn't return anything, which means this is not true, then it returns not equal. And basically what this function does, it checks if the value that you pass is actually 10, because it's checking if my val equal 10. So if this is 10, if what you pass is 10, it will return equal. If not, then this will be false, so it will return not equal, right? So if my value is equal to 10, the equality operator returns true, so the call in the curly braces will execute and the function will return equal. Otherwise, the function will return not equal. In order for JavaScript to compare two different data types, for example numbers and string, it must convert one type to another. This is known as type coercion. Once it does, however, it can compare terms as follows. 1 equals 1, 1 equals 2, this is false, 1 equals 1 is true. So this is the thing with the 2 equals operator, because JavaScript does type coercion. So if I say here, if 1 and I use 2 equals 1, which is a string, then console log yes it is, and I say clear, and I do this, it's saying yes it is, but it's not actually, because while it is still 1, this is a string and this is a number, so they're not actually equal. But if we're using the 3 equal operator, then the 3 equal operator will not try to use the type coercion, and it will not say that it is equal, because those are not actually equal, they are strings and number, right? So we don't get nothing. So once you get more advanced into JavaScript, then you can use coercion to your advantage to actually do some interesting stuff. But while you're learning, I think for the most part it's good to stick with the 3 equals operator, right? So it's saying add the equality operator to the indicated line, so that the function will return equal when val is equivalent to 12. So if val equals 12, and I'm using here the 2 equals because otherwise it may not work with some of their cases, because they're trying to teach us like this. But like I said, in your programs, try to use the 3 equals. So let's run it, and that's it. And we will go through one more and we will conclude for today. So this is what we were talking about before, comparison with a strict equality operator. Strict equality, which is 3 equal, is the counterpart to the equality operator. However, unlike the equality operator, which attempts to convert both values being compared to a common type, so a common data type, the strict equality operator does not perform a type conversion. If the values being compared have different types, they are considered unequal, and the strict equality operator will return false. So 3 equals 3 because they're both 3 and they're both the same data type, number. But here it will be false because one data type is number, one data type is string, right? So here is saying use the strict equality operator in the if statement so that the function will return equal when val is strictly equal to 7, right? So it has to be strictly equal. So now we're using the strict equality operator and we're saying if val equals 7, return equal. Otherwise this will not be run and we will return not equal, right? And we run it, and that's it. And now we are 53% in the basic JavaScript module. So we have a long way to go through this course because there are about 7 or 8 modules and we are only in basic JavaScript, but I think we are learning quite a lot. And again, if more people are joining, I think they will get some great value from this. Also, if you're oh my god, don't tell me I have been explaining this these last two while not showing the code. So embarrassing. So I think what I'll do is I'll actually go back to the last two that I made. Let me see how I go back. I'm not sure how I go back. Info. Let me just make this. And let's see where I am, curriculum. And we will go to where we are. I'm not sure where I started not showing the code, but I do hope whoever was watching was try to actually find where we are. That is my bad on this part. I think I'm going to have to, once I start explaining code, not to switch the camera to myself, or try to make it automated so that it changes by itself when I change the view, right? So here we were talking about data type. I think this one was live when I was explaining. So we were having true and false, which are Boolean data types, right? And they asked us here. I do think I was showing the code when this one was happening. I hope so, at least. So here we were talking about conditional if statements. I think actually we showed this one quite a lot. Function true or false. Oh my god, is conditional. No, I do think I showed this one. So let's just execute this code. So Roxana, if you're still here, can you let me know where I stopped showing the code? What was I explaining last time when I showed the code? I'm going to have to check my Facebook next time, so somebody can let me know if the code is not being shown. Roxana, are you still there? Can you let me know where I stopped showing the code, if you're there? Yeah, I think next time I will have to stop showing the camera because I may forget about it. Okay, comparison with the equality operator passed. So oh right, so was the comparison with the equality operator the last one that the one that I didn't show? Let me go back to curriculum and okay, so hi Julian, you still there as well? Yeah, so unfortunately I think for the last two I forgot to change to the code, so I will go through them again. So basically let's go and saying comparison with the equality operator, and I was explaining that when you're first starting JavaScript, it is better to use the strict equality operator, because if you're just using the equality operator, that will do basically coerce data type. So now if I do this, it will saying that the number is equal to the string that's the same number, because it's doing a data type coercion. So you will say these two things are equal, right? So as you can see, it's saying yes it is. So I'm saying it is better to use the strict equality operator, which it shows after this one, until you get better at JavaScript and you can use data coercion to your advantage, right? So anyway, they're talking here about the equality operator, which basically evaluates true if the two values are equal, but it's also doing data type coercion. So these two will actually evaluate to true, because while they're different data types, they are basically having the same value, they're just different data types, right? So it's saying note that equality is different from assignment equals, which we have explained before, equals basically assigns a value to a variable. So here we're having function equality tests. So basically here what this function does is basically returns equal if the value you pass is 10, otherwise it returns not equal, because this condition is going to evaluate to true when my value that you pass is 10, so it will return equal. And once you return out of a function, it will not run the rest of the code. So here, if this is true, then we're returning equal and we're going outside of the function, right? So if my value is equal to 10, the equality operator returns true. So the code in the curly braces will execute and the function will return equal. Otherwise, the function will return not equal. In order for JavaScript to compare two different data types, for example numbers and strings, it must convert one type to another, which we're saying here that before doing this equality, because it's seeing that they are different data types, but we're using the equality operator, not a strict equality operator, then JavaScript will try to convert one type to another, and only after that it will evaluate if they are true, right? And thank you for the like, it is appreciated, and YouTube will show my content more, so appreciate it again. Right, so this is now as type coercion, and like I said, that's why I recommend while you're learning JavaScript to use only the strict equality operator, so that you don't get some side effects that you may not expect, right? So oops, what happened here? Quit. Add the equality operator to the indicated line so that the function will return equal when val, the parameters that you pass to the function, is equal to 12. So here we're just saying we're using the equality operator, not the strict equality, because that's what we're learning here. And we're saying if val equals 12, then return equal, otherwise it will return not equal, right? So let's run it. And then we will go to this one, which is the last one that we did, and I will have to repeat it because unfortunately I was not showing the code. Again, very awkward. Anyway, so we're saying strict equality, which is basically asking that both values are the same value and also the same data type, is the counterpart to the equality operator, which is just two equals. However, unlike the equality operator, which attempts to convert both values being compared to a common type, a common data type, the strict equality operator does not perform a type conversion. So if we're using the strict equality operator, then this operator will immediately try to check if these two are equal without doing any conversion beforehand, right? And then it will see that they're not equal because one is data type string and one data type number, right? So this will return true because they're both value of 3 and they're both data type number. This will return false because while the value of both is 3, one is data type string and one is data type number. So here it's saying use the strict equality operator in the if statement, so the function will return equal when val is strictly equal to 7. So if the value of the argument val that we pass is actually it's actually, and we actually solved this one, so it's showing this, but if the value that we pass here would be a string of 7, then this will not return equal because we're using the strict equality operator. So we're saying if val equals 7, return equal, otherwise return not equal, and we're saying strict equal, right? So let's run it. And yeah, this was the last one. I think we will stop here for today. Let me just yeah, we have got equals versus well, yeah, we got equals versus equal. So I hope you guys enjoyed this live and you got something out of it. We will continue somewhere on Tuesday probably with the next live in this series. And in the meantime, if you guys know anybody that's learning JavaScript, anybody new that would be interested in content like this, where and the thing is, I want to say that I will also be answering questions that are not related to this course about JavaScript or maybe about web development and stuff like that. So if you have any questions, I will try to answer all of them. Also keep in mind that I am planning to do lives at some point about doing projects lives as well. So you're basically going to be coding a website or something live, a project. So I think those are going to be quite interesting. So yeah, I hope to see you next time. If you have any friends that would enjoy this type of content, do share the link to my channel and let them know. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining, and if you didn't already give a like to the live, so that more people can see it and know that we're doing more in the future. All right, thank you for joining, and have a good evening or day wherever you are. Bye bye for now.